If you have to ask, it means you're not following my Twitter. Today I want to talk about a concept I'm calling empathy barriers, or taste barriers if you want a nicer sounding version of it. But empathy barriers are something that I think are a human instinct that keeps us from trying to care about too many things at once, because we don't really have the capacity to concern ourselves with everything possible. At various levels, we have barriers where we either feel very little or no empathy towards something categorically. It's a way that our brain just recognizes an entire type of information and just writes it off, because that's easier than trying to, find a nuanced way to integrate it into everything else you're trying to understand. You can find empathy barriers in every aspect of life. People care less about animals than humans and therefore can eat them or treat them differently. Some people don't feel that way. They treat animals with the same respect as people, but at the same time, they are not automatically going to care about everything happening everywhere, go out of their way to figure out, what is the most positive impact you could possibly have on the world, because it's just impossible to figure that kind of stuff out. It's best to just deal with what's in front of you. Once again, empathy barriers do serve some level of purpose. You have to be self-aware about the fact that you have them, but you literally can't process everything. So it does help to have some level of categorical I don't care. You shouldn't have this towards people if you can help it, but say something like American football, the sport, for me, is pretty much a categorical I don't care. Not to say I couldn't care, not to say that it would be, that I couldn't be interested in it, but because of the fact that in general I don't get anything out of it, and I have no interest in trying to get something out of it, it's just a categorical no, and that makes my life easier because it's just one less thing I have to keep track of that would, flood in on all the other stuff I'm keeping track of, which I already am failing at. I'm not going to go on too long trying to explain the concept of empathy barriers, because the first time I tried to record this vlog, I did that for 10 minutes, and the camera I was using ran out of space, and I've been frustratingly trying to get this thing out for days now, and I know I'm just dodging the touchier part of the subject because it's embarrassing. But the easiest way for me to do it, as with most things in my life, is to just go through chronologically and talk about my own experiences. You see, one of the biggest taste barriers that most people have that has the most impact on their personal life is in terms of who they are attracted to. And it's not that anybody is just categorically attracted to, say, an entire gender, but you are more likely to be categorically not attracted to an entire gender, and that can be helpful in its own way. Though now that I am transitioning, I also understand all the ways that making that separation is problematic and does create the kind of empathy barriers that cause people to differentiate themselves more. I think that when you find a reason to make it so that there is some kind of categorical reason that say oh, I'm a man, I'm interested in women, and therefore there's something fundamentally different about men and women that is the reason I could be attracted to them, whereas not other men. I think that's a way of thinking a lot of people have, and that's not really helpful towards making, equality in a relationship, but it is helpful for seeking partners and for making your life feel more rational. And just, I think most people are pretty comfortable categorizing themselves into a few strata of how they would identify, oh, I'm a person from this place, I'm interested in this and that things, and these are those people, this is who my family is, this is who my relationship is with. And they're very they want to be defined, they want to be categorized, because it's very comfortable to feel oh, I am doing me, I know who I am and I am doing it according to plan. And I think that it's only when you're really dissatisfied with being you that you start to question your taste and question your identity and want to try to branch out and try new things. And as somebody who was questioning my my identity for about 14 years, I spent most of that time trying to expand my tastes in all kinds of different realms, which is why it's funny that I still had such a massive taste barrier in terms of who I was allowing myself to be attracted to. So if you've seen a lot of my videos or heard me talk for a long time, you'll probably have heard some of these stories of my past, but it's easy to create a through line like this. When I went through puberty, I had a very sudden shift from being the smallest, skinniest, just tiniest little kid with super long hair into being a dude. Like, suddenly, you know, gaining enough weight to be like average size and rising up to 5'8", which, you know, is considered like manlet height by many people online. It's like the average height of guys in the world, but to me, as a 14-year-old, it seemed like all of a sudden I'm like completely different, because I'm just like, I completely internalized the idea of myself as like the smallest person, you know, like that's who I am. I identify as being this like little small person, and I was very proud of myself and who I was as a kid, you know, like everything about my identity was something that I clung to very tightly, and I didn't really have that much because it was kind of a struggle for me as somebody who did not relate to other boys, but was really afraid of hanging out with girls or doing anything involving them because of the fact that people called me a girl already as it was, and I didn't want people calling me a girl, which is extremely ironic and extremely unfortunate. But once I turned 14, that changed, and I very quickly like wanted to be a girl. Just started like indulging into the world of trying to understand women via the internet by talking to girls, reading stuff about the experience of being a woman, stuff like that, looking at lots of Yuri, avoiding dicks in everything I look at. And at the same time, I was like starting to feel like I might be bisexual while I was staring up at all these posters of Link and Dante on my walls and having gay thoughts about them. But I was extremely lonely and very schizophrenic and suicidal at this time in my life. So this period of, you know, when I went through puberty was like such an off and dark and strange period of my life that, you know, was largely tied into as well, like changes in my, you know, living situation and my parents' relationship and stuff like that, that all kind of reverted after a while, and that helped a lot in getting me to not be like as horrifically depressed as I had been. And also to like, when I kind of got back into anime in a big way through cute girl shows, that was really when I started to use anime as my outlet for like getting to experience being a girl instead, you know. Like I was like a 17-year-old high schooler watching Hidamari Sketch, a show about 17-year-old high school girls living the lifestyle I wanted to be living, you know, with the aesthetic I wanted my life to have. And so that was enough to get me through for a while. But when I was 14 and I was on the internet heavily and on internet forums, the first person I ever dated was a guy. It was only for like a week and mostly through DMs on a forum. But he called me a few times because I gave him my phone number. And when I heard him talk, he had like a nerdy voice, and it made me like run away because I was not turned on by this voice. It's not going to be like Link or Dante, who's like the guy you're talking to, you know, which is really funny to me now in retrospect. But like the way I had taken this whole relationship, because of the fact that I came out on the other side of it like still very attracted to and obsessed with women. And I think my obsession with them, honestly, was more the driving force than any kind of attraction. But those feelings are very easy to get entangled when you're not sure what the fuck's going on with yourself. I didn't know anything about the trans community or have ever talked to any people with these experiences until recently, you know? So, like, all this just felt like fucking weird alien shit to me. But it kind of made me come to the conclusion through, like, I had watched Evangelion on the other side of that period of my life, which helped me to cope a lot as well, because I saw so much of myself in Shinji, and particularly the part where he has his short relationship with Kaoru. And the way I had kind of projected onto that relationship when, like, at the time, was that, like, Shinji was so desperate because he'd already been rejected by all these women that, like, because Kaoru is nice to him, it's not really a matter of whether Shinji is bisexual or attracted to Kaoru, just that, like, it's, you know, it's a palpable human connection, someone who's, like, really trying to look out for this kid in a world where no one else is, you know? Like, to me, it seemed like the only reason I would ever have dated a guy was that I couldn't get a girl, you know? Funny, because, like, lots of guys have come on to me over the years. Like, it's not uncommon for me to get hit on by guys. Almost no girls ever hit on me over the years. 2 of the, like, handful I can name are ones who I ended up dating. It's just really funny to me to think that based on this one experience when I was a teenager, and then the way that I rationalized it through watching Evangelion, allowed me to just convince myself, like, I don't want to involve myself with any guys. And honestly, I think that the biggest thing that was standing in my way is that I'm not interested in guys as a man. I'm not interested in being a gay man. I've always been interested in guys as a woman, even when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I distinctly remember praying on a star that I could be turned into a girl so I could be my best friend's girlfriend. And maybe on some level that was just because I was so convinced that just being gay is bad, that, like, this is the only logical way to do it, you know? But, like, as I went on through life, you know, obviously I stopped thinking being gay was bad around the time I was being gay on the internet. I've known gay people. I've been flirted with by gay people. I just never thought I would be interested in being with a man. And once I had been with women, that convinced me even further. Like, oh, like, I enjoy this, so I can be a guy, so I can keep doing this. And that deteriorated over time because I came to realize that what I was getting out of being with women is the, like, ability to project, you know, to be able to be like, oh, well, this woman is with me and therefore basically is me, and therefore I don't have to think of myself as, like, me. I can, like, this is the repository of all information regarding me, and therefore it could be a stand-in should I happen to dissolve by will. I don't feel that way with Ari because of the fact that he treats me as a woman, sees me as a woman, refers to me as a woman. And it's not that he really cares one way or the other about, like, what it means to be a woman, because, I mean, it's fucking completely nebulous. It's more that, like, you know, he wants to treat me the way that I want to be treated, and as I navigate what that is, it makes it much easier for me to be like, I'm not projecting onto somebody else to just, like, hey, do whatever you want and also have all of my info inside of you while you're doing it, so that I can be like I can just pretend that I'm the two of us combined and I don't exist. Instead, I'm just being myself and, like, projecting onto myself. You know, I am trying to be the thing that I want to look at and say, oh, that's me. That's the thing with all my traits inside of it. I sure am glad that that is what that thing looks like, you know? So I guess that's where I'm trying to head. And cat ears are a step in the right direction. What I really wanted to talk about, though, is how this has shifted my relationship with the world in general and everybody I've ever known. Because when you know, turn your border, you have to start asking yourself questions like, why do I watch MKBHD? I don't use technology. I have a desktop and I have a Pixel XL of the first gen that's now probably pushing 3 years old. And I hate it, even though I got it because he liked it so much. But, like, I don't care about anything he talks about ever. Just like this motherfucker's voice. And general personality. So I'm watching him as a YouTube personality. And like, it's funny to me because I wouldn't watch like I don't watch a lot of YouTube personalities. I mostly watch informational videos because I like to hear information dispensed. I don't learn anything from analysis videos anymore, so I don't watch as many of them. Or like a better example, like I was rewatching this Denzel Curry interview from back when I was trying to make a documentary on him, and starting to legitimately wonder, like, is it that Denzel Curry is especially interesting, or is it that I simp him really hard? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? This is difficult to structure in a linear fashion, what I'm trying to describe. I've been terrified to make this video because I don't know what it means for me. I don't know what it would mean for the reaction. I guess I'm not sure if I'm pansexual or if I'm like going to realize that I'm just straight as a woman, which to a lot of people is just going to mean gay, but whatever. I'm LGB and T. I'm also two-spirit, except I'm not going to claim that because that's like cultural appropriation, but I'm a BOGO bitch is what I'm trying to say, and I got multiple personalities. I guess the best way I can contextualize what I'm trying to describe and how this all entered my mind really was like when we went to Burning Dick out in the desert, which you can see in the Void Chasers vlog. It was an event where it was mostly a bunch of dudes and a couple of girls who were all girlfriends of guys who were there, myself included. And like the first night that we got there, I was like, high on acid, getting drunk, hanging out around the fire circle, and like a couple of, people who know who I am are talking to me. And it occurs to me all at once that at least one of them is openly flirting with me. And I mean, I looked cute, so I was immediately like, this is different. Like, I'm used to being in a group of guys, and even if they were flirting with me, just being able to think, well, I'm not into men, so that means nothing to me, In this situation, it's like, oh, like, there's guys who are into me. That's totally different. And it makes the whole tenor of conversation feel different. And that's what I'm used to being what makes it awkward to talk to women in the first place, for me as somebody who was, had a very difficult time talking to women without, in my mind, being like, I hope I spend the rest of my life with you and, look at you every day. What I realized at this event was, oh, like, I should be hanging out with the girls at these events because that's who I would feel more comfortable around and want to talk to and relate to better. And like, it's like I have to be at the right place where the women who are there are also going to be like, oh, let us assimilate into our side. This doesn't belong over there. And that's like, this is normal behavior. It's like there's guys who hang out with girls, I've just not been one of them because I wanted to be a girl hanging out with girls. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like anything that I wanted to do as a human being but not as a man, I now can do as a woman. And so it's just like the way that I perceive all interaction is different. And it's fascinating. It's definitely opened my mind, opened my taste, opened my empathy barriers in a massive way. So I hope that's to my benefit.